Hi everybody, it's Sue here from slowideas.com, and today's video is going to be a little show and tell with 3 of my favorite sewing products. And there's one thing they have in common: they're all white tapes, but they are all used for very different things. So I wanted to show what they are and some different ways you can use them in your sewing projects. So the first is Steam-A-Seam. This is actually called Steam-A-Seam 2. And it was $6.95 on sale, probably a Dress Sew or another one of the local fabric stores. So Steam-A-Seam is a double-sided fusible tape, and as you can see, it just comes in these little rolls. It is sticky when you take it off the roll, just a little bit sticky on one side, and then you can peel the paper backing away. I'm going to show how each of these is used in just a minute with some video magic. So this is Knit and Stable tape. It is made by the Feline company. It is basically a roll of white interfacing. So it also comes in black. Here it is. This is a roll that I've used a lot of. I use this on practically every knit project that I do. It is stretchy and it is fusible, so it has gummy bits on one side, but not the other side. The other side is nice and soft. And then the third product that I absolutely love is called Stay Tape. And this one was a little bit harder to find in stores, actually. I did manage to get it from Cloth Castle eventually, and I think Gala Fabrics also carries it, but Fabricland very rarely has it in stock. So if you're looking for it, you're going to have to go to one of the independent stores. I have not actually looked for it at Sawyer Fabrics, but they do have a fairly decent notions section, so you might have luck there. So this is not stretchy and it's not fusible. What it is, however, is very lightweight and not stretchy at all. So I'll show you how you use each of these in a different kind of project. Okay, we're going to start with the Steam-A-Seam 2 tape, the double fusible web tape. So one of my favorite uses for this product is putting zippers on and helping me keep them in place before I stitch them on the machine. So I'm going to demonstrate that with a scrap piece of fabric and a zipper that I'm probably never actually going to use. The first thing I need to do is make sure that my iron is heated up. So I'm just going to get that up to temps. I'm using the wool setting because this is a wool fabric. This is actually a scrap from my wool tweed dress that I'm trying to make with lots and lots of piping and other special details. So I'm going to use the same amount of tape as the length of my zipper, and it tears really easily. So I'm going to put that on the seam allowance where I would want my zipper piece to go. So this is not actually a piece of a project. So I will put it on and just kind of rub it down with my fingers there so that it stays in place. And then I pull off the paper backing just like that. It does kind of wiggle a little bit. You can press it with the paper backing still on, but I do prefer to just sort of do it once. And then I just lay my zipper in place where I want it to go and kind of press it down with my fingers, and then use my iron to come along and steam that in place. This is not fabric glue. You could not rely on this to hold the zipper in your project long term, but it'll hold it down long enough for you to take it to your machine and stitch it in place. So having stuck it on there, it is now in place. The bits that I didn't manage to press very well are coming off a little bit. That's because that zipper pull got in the way. I could pull that back right now because the rest of it is stuck in place. Press it a little bit more, and voila. Here comes the cat. The cat loves it when the iron's running because it's hot. So now I would go with my zipper foot and I would stitch along that edge and I would have a nice straight cat. Thanks. I'm gonna leave that in the video. Here she comes again. Get down, silly girl. Yeah, so I have a nice straight zipper and that's that. So when you're putting in a zipper that's woven and non-stretchy on a non-stretchy fabric, this is a really good product. Now, if you are putting in a zipper on a stretchy fabric, you're gonna need more tricks. So here is the stretchy fabric. As you can see, I've made this into a top recently, and let's say I wanted to put a zipper in. I'm gonna want to put the zipper in along the grain, so I need to cut it evenly along the vertical grain. Now, if I were to take my zipper, and let's see if I can pull it off. Yep, I can pull it off away still. If I wanted to take my zipper and I was to put that in there and just stitch it down, what might happen as I stitch is the fabric itself will stretch, but the zipper will not. And I will get a wavy zipper and it'll look really crappy, and I don't want that. So there's two things that I can do. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to stabilize this with some of my knit and stable tape. So I'm going to take just enough length, here's my scissors, to go along where I want my zipper to go. Get you can feel the little beads on the product, and they kind of catch the light a little bit, so they're a little bit shiny, so you know which side to go down. So put that down. Do not press this the wrong side up with your iron, because it will get the glue all over your iron plate, and no bueno, because that's a mess to clean up off your iron. So I'll just steam it in place, let it sit for a couple seconds, 3, 4, 5, there we go. And I'll just let it cool off for a little bit there so the glue has a chance to set. I don't have to leave it for very long. And what's happened now is my fabric is just a little bit more stabilized, and it has less give to it than if I had just sewn it on straight. So that's one thing you can do. You can also use just a piece of regular woven interfacing, cut in a strip, and put it on the back, or put it on the back of your fabric where you're going to put your zipper. So once again, I would take some seam tape, the length of the zipper, or in this case the length of the fabric. I'm going to put it on there. This time I actually will just press it into place lightly. Just give it just enough heat to let it the glue on one side sink in, but not enough to melt all of the glue, because as you see, I've melted the glue just a little bit and I'm already having a bit of a hard time getting that paper tape to come off. So if you've pressed it too much, it won't come off. So it is this sort of web product, sticky web. So once again, I have put my seam along my seam allowance, and I'm going to put my zipper down and press that just a little bit. Is it getting steamy in here, or is it just me? And lo and behold, my zipper is in place and slightly less wavy for when I sew over that to finish it off. So that's two products that are really good to work with either stretchy or non-stretchy fabric. These tapes are stretchy. So, oh, there's one more thing I forgot to mention, and that is the other most common use I had for knit and stable tape before I got my cover stitch machine. And since I hardly know anyone who has a cover stitch machine, you need to know about this. So when you are sewing knit hems, you're at the bottom of your t-shirt or something like that, or a blouse, especially if it's a curved hem, what can happen is you can get these really nasty little twisty bits on your hem, because as you're trying to go around the curve, of course, your folded up bit is not the same size as your flat bit that you're sewing it onto, and it gets twisted out of shape and you end up with this like weird Becky Homeki twisted hem. Nobody wants that. So if you put a row of knit and stable tape along the bottom of your garment, and I've already sewn this shut so I can't show you exactly, but what I did was I just laid it down, I pressed it in place, I folded over my edge, and I pressed it again so it got that nice crisp curve, and then I sewed it, and what I have is a really nice flat curved edge, and this won't roll up and it won't stretch out of shape and get all gappy if it's been through the wash a couple of times. So this is my #1 use for knit and stable tape before I got a cover stitch machine. I still use it from time to time, and it just makes for really nice hems. So sorry for the interruption, back to your regular programming. So what about the other tape? Stay tape, here it is in the box. Adds strength and stability. Lightweight, will not add bulk. Prevents stretching. That's pretty much it in a nutshell. So where I use this is if I'm doing a sweater or a knit top, and I will put this anywhere in the garment where I don't want the seams to stretch. And so in this case, I'm working on a cardigan with knit fabric. Here it is. And I need to have my shoulder seams not stretch out. This is a fairly long cardigan, so there's going to be a fair amount of weight on this seam, and I want it to hold its shape. So I'm going to take a small bit of the stay tape, cut it to length, put the pin back in to prevent it from unraveling in my stash. And then what I would do with this is along one seam line where I'm going to sew, I would pin this in place, just like that. So I didn't cut it long enough, but this is just a demo. And then I could either hand baste that in place, not likely to happen. I'm probably just going to pin it or hold it in place and line up my two seams. This has only got one piece to it, but I would line up the other piece, which is the front shoulder, and sew it all together and trap this in the seam. And what that does is it stops this fabric from stretching as much as it would normally want to. So without the stay tape, that's a really stretchy seam, and over time that's going to get stretched out and won't have as much give or much recovery, and it'll become a very sad looking cardigan. So that is what stay tape does, and those are sort of 3 products that I keep very close to hand in my sewing area when I'm doing different kinds of projects. So thanks very much. I hope you have enjoyed that. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to ask them in the comments, and I'll be back, and so will my cat, for another video next week. Bye!